The massive space station floated above Proxima Prime, its crystal surfaces reflecting the light of 3 distant suns. Inside the grand chamber, representatives from 4 powerful alien empires gathered for the first time in 1,000 years. The Vakros, tall reptilian warriors with scales like dark iron, stood on one side. Across from them, the Hive Collective's insect-like drones clustered together. Their minds connected as one. The luminar beings floated as pure energy, their forms shifting between colors. The Shardborn, creatures made of living crystal, occupied the final corner of the chamber. They had come together for one purpose: to discuss the human problem. Commander Kaval of the Vakros Empire spoke first. His voice was deep and filled with authority. The humans have existed in space for only 50 years. Yet they have claimed 17 worlds. They expand without asking permission. They refuse to follow the old ways. A Shardborn representative named Thresh made a sound like breaking glass. Our calculations show they will control 50 systems within another 50 years. They reproduce quickly. They adapt faster than any species we have observed. This is unacceptable. The luminar entity pulsed with red light. They are chaotic, unpredictable. Each human acts independently. They have no hive mind, no collective consciousness, no unified energy. They are dangerous because we cannot predict what they will do. The Hive Queen's voice came through all her drones at once. They must be corrected, brought into order, made to understand their place in the galaxy. The Council reached its decision. Earth would receive one final chance to surrender. If they refused, the combined might of 4 empires would descend upon their homeworld. They would be made an example. The galaxy would see what happened to species that refused to obey. 3 days later, Admiral Taeyang stood in the command center of Earth's defense headquarters. He was a man in his 50s, with silver hair and tired eyes that had seen too many conflicts. The message from the Galactic Council played on the screen before him. The aliens demanded Earth's complete surrender. All human colonies must be abandoned. All human ships must be destroyed. Earth would become a vassal state of the Vakros Empire. "They're serious," said Commander Hyun, a younger officer who managed Earth's early warning systems. "Our deep space sensors show a massive fleet gathering near the Proxima system. At least 10,000 ships." Taeyang looked at the faces around him. Leaders from every nation on Earth had gathered here. The President of the United Earth Government, military commanders, and civilian advisors all waited for his assessment. "How long do we have?" asked President Sunmi. 2 weeks until they arrive at Earth," Hyun replied. "Can we fight them?" someone asked. Taeyang was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke slowly. "For 50 years, we have been preparing for this day. Every nation spent resources on defense projects, hidden projects, projects the public never knew about. We hoped we would never need them." He pulled up displays showing Earth's true defensive capabilities. Weapons platforms hidden in the asteroid belt. Drone factories buried deep in the lunar surface. Experimental ships that existed only in classified files. Railguns that could fire from Earth's surface into space. AI systems designed for one purpose only: to protect humanity. "We can fight," Taeyang said, "but understand this. If we refuse their demands, they will come with everything they have. Many will die. Earth itself may be damaged. There is no guarantee we will win." President Sunmi stood up. She was a small woman, but her voice carried weight. "Then we send them our answer. Earth does not kneel." Far away on the frontier colony of New Busan, Captain Minji received the emergency broadcast. She was a veteran of the colony wars, a woman who had spent 20 years protecting human settlements from pirates and hostile environments. Now she stood on the observation deck of the colony's defense station, looking out at the planet below. 50,000 humans lived here. Families, children, people who had left Earth to build something new. "Begin evacuation procedures," she told her crew. "Priority to children and non-combatants, but also activate Protocol Red." Her second officer looked surprised. Protocol Red? Captain, that's only for invasion, Minji finished. Yes. I know what it's for. Protocol Red was simple. Every human colony had defensive systems that were never supposed to be used. Weapons hidden underground. Emergency shields. Self-destruct charges that could deny the enemy any victory. The colonists didn't know these systems existed. It was better that way. As civilian transports began lifting off, carrying families to hidden shelters in the outer system, Minji watched her defensive grid come online. New Busan looked peaceful and weak from space. That was intentional. Let the aliens think humans were soft targets. Back on Earth, the response to the Council was being prepared. Taeyang had wanted to try diplomacy one more time. He sent a message offering peaceful coexistence, offering to share technology and culture, offering friendship. The response came quickly. Commander Kaval's face appeared on the screen. His reptilian features showed nothing but contempt. Humans. You are children playing with technology you barely understand. You infest worlds like a disease. The Council has decided your fate. Surrender, or be destroyed. You have 3 days to comply. The transmission ended. Taeyang looked at his assembled officers. Activate everything. Contact all colony worlds. Tell them to prepare for war. And send a message to the Council. Tell them this. You wanted to see what humanity is capable of. Welcome to Earth. The next 72 hours were a blur of activity. Every defensive satellite moved into position. Every weapon system ran final checks. Every soldier prepared for battle. And in secret facilities across Earth and its moon, things that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. On the third day, the alien armada arrived. 10,000 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. They formed up in perfect military formation, a display of overwhelming force meant to terrify the humans into immediate surrender. Admiral Taeyang stood in his command center, surrounded by displays showing the enemy fleet. They outnumbered Earth's visible ships 50-1. Any military analyst would say this was an impossible fight. Send the final message, Taeyang ordered. A young communications officer named Ji Wan typed rapidly, then looked up. Message sent, sir. All defensive systems are online and responding. We're ready. The alien fleet began moving forward. They broadcast their demands one last time. Surrender. Now, or be destroyed. Earth's answer came not in words but in action. From the dark side of the moon, thousands of weapons platforms suddenly appeared, throwing off the camouflage that had hidden them for years. From the asteroid belt, rail guns that had been disguised as mining equipment rotated toward the enemy. And from Earth itself, electromagnetic cannons rose from hidden bunkers, their targeting systems locking onto the alien ships. Commander Kaval, aboard his flagship, saw the defensive grid activate and laughed. Primitive weapons. They think they can fight us with these toys? He gave the order to attack. That was his first mistake. It would not be his last, but it would be the one he would regret forever. The first alien missiles streaked through space toward Earth's cities. They were plasma weapons, designed to burn through shields and vaporize anything they touched. Commander Kaval watched from his flagship as hundreds of missiles launched. In his experience, this opening volley was usually enough to make any species beg for mercy. The missiles never reached Earth. Lieutenant Jiwon sat in the deep command bunker beneath what used to be the NORAD facility. Her fingers danced across holographic controls as she coordinated Earth's defense grid. She had trained for this moment her entire career, but never truly believed it would come. Targets acquired, she said calmly. From hidden bays across Earth's moon, millions of small objects burst forth. They looked like metal insects, each no bigger than a car. These were autonomous combat drones, controlled by advanced AI that could think and adapt faster than any biological mind. The Vakros missiles met a wall of drones that simply threw themselves in the way, exploding to stop the bigger weapons. But that was just the beginning. The drones that survived immediately began to change formation. They swarmed toward the alien fleet like angry bees, moving in patterns that made no sense to the Vacross tactical computers. Some drones rammed into enemy ships. Others attached themselves to hulls and began cutting through with plasma torches. Still others hacked into alien communication systems, sending false orders and creating chaos. "What is happening?" Cavil demanded. "Why are our ship's reporting system failures?" His tactical officer stared at his screens in confusion. "Sir, the human drones are learning. Every time we destroy one, the others adapt. They're changing their tactics faster than we can respond." From Earth's surface, the electromagnetic railguns opened fire. These were not ordinary weapons. They fired tungsten rods at a significant fraction of light speed. When a 10-ton rod of tungsten hits a spaceship at that velocity, shields mean nothing. The kinetic energy simply tears through everything. A Vacross heavy cruiser, 3 kilometers long and armed with enough firepower to destroy a small moon, took a direct hit. The tungsten rod punched through the front of the ship and out the back, the kinetic energy turning the mighty vessel into an expanding cloud of debris. Engineer Do-hyun watched from his control station as the railguns reloaded automatically. He had designed these weapons 20 years ago, when he was fresh out of university. Everyone had called him paranoid for suggesting Earth needed such powerful defenses. Now his paranoia was saving lives. "Reload time 45 seconds, he reported. "Targeting next wave of enemy capital ships. Fire when ready," Taeyang ordered. The Hive Collective watched the battle with their unified consciousness and felt something they had never experienced before. Confusion. The humans fought like they had studied Hive tactics, but made it chaotic somehow. Drone swarms that acted independently, but still worked together. It made no sense. The Hive Queen decided to use their greatest advantage. They released their bioships. Living vessels grown, rather than built. These ships could regenerate damage and didn't rely on computers that could be hacked. The bioships moved toward Earth in a dense formation. They would overwhelm the human defenses through sheer numbers. Captain Salmon commanded a small frigate called the Incheon. Her ship was one of Earth's newer vessels, built for speed rather than armor. When she saw the Hive bioships approaching, she smiled. "All ships, follow my lead," she broadcast to the other frigates. Time to show them why Earth builds fast ships. The Incheon and 30 other frigates accelerated to maximum speed, heading straight for the Hive formation. The aliens assumed the humans were making a desperate suicide run. They were wrong. At the last moment, the human ships scattered like leaves in wind. They flew through the Hive formation, their weapons firing constantly. But they didn't just shoot randomly. Each human ship targeted the same bioship as they passed, concentrating their fire. The Hive vessels, tough as they were, couldn't withstand focused attacks from multiple ships at once. Salmon's ship curved around Earth's moon, using it as a shield. Her crew worked smoothly, everyone knowing their job. They had practiced this maneuver 1,000 times in simulation. Now, it was real. "Coming around for another pass," she announced. "Reload all weapons." The Luminar Ascendancy watched the battle from a distance and calculated probabilities. This was not going according to plan. The humans were supposed to be afraid. They were supposed to surrender when faced with overwhelming force. Instead, they fought like creatures possessed. The Luminar decided to use their special ability. Being made of pure energy, they could pass through solid matter and disable ships from within. 1,000 Luminar warriors phased through space toward Earth's defense grid. They planned to infiltrate the human computers and shut everything down. Commander Junho anticipated this. His stealth ship, the Gwangju, had been waiting in the shadow of an asteroid. His ship was equipped with experimental technology that Earth scientists had developed in secret. Nuclear pulse generators that could disrupt energy-based life forms. Luminar entities detected, his science officer reported. "They're trying to infiltrate our systems." Activate the pulse array, Junho ordered. The Guangzhou released a wave of specifically tuned nuclear radiation. It was harmless to matter-based life, but to the Luminar, it was agony. The energy beings scattered, their forms disrupting and flickering. For the first time in their existence, the Luminar felt pain. They retreated, broadcasting confusion and distress to their home fleet. Pilot Yuna flew her experimental fighter through the chaos of battle. Her ship was tiny compared to the massive alien vessels, barely 20 meters long. But it was fast and equipped with the newest human weapons. She had volunteered for this mission knowing it was probably suicide. Her target was the Hive command vessel, a massive living ship that coordinated all the other Hive units. If she could destroy it, the Hive fleet would lose coordination. "Tower, this is Yuna," she broadcast. "Beginning attack run on priority target." "Yuna, you don't have to do this," came the response. "Those odds are—" "I know the odds," she interrupted. "And I know what happens if I don't try. Humanity doesn't leave jobs unfinished. Unfinished." Her fighter accelerated to maximum speed. Hive biofighters swarmed around her, their organic weapons firing streams of acid and biological missiles. Yuna's hands moved across her controls with practiced ease, dodging and weaving. She had trained her whole life for this moment. Her fighter took hits. Warning lights blazed across her cockpit. But she kept going. At the last moment, she launched her entire payload of missiles directly into the command vessel's main cluster. Then, she ejected, her emergency pod blasting away from the explosion. The Hive command ship died. And with it, thousands of Hive drones suddenly lost their coordination. They began flying in confused patterns, no longer working as one mind. 6 hours after the battle began, the alien fleet was in chaos. The Vakros had lost over 3,000 ships and were pulling back to regroup. The Hive collective was confused and scattered. The Luminar had retreated entirely. The Shardborn, always pragmatic, had calculated that continued fighting was economically unsustainable, and withdrew. Earth had lost 18 orbital stations. Mexico City had taken a direct hit from a missile that got through the defenses. Jakarta and Lagos suffered damage from debris. In total, 30,000 humans had died. But Earth still stood. Admiral Taeyang looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleet retreating. His hands were shaking slightly. They had done it. Against all odds, Earth had survived. "Sir," Jiwan said quietly, "we're receiving surrender offers from several alien squadrons. They're requesting permission to evacuate their damaged ships." Taeyang thought for a moment. The easy choice would be to destroy them all, to show no mercy. But that wasn't the human way. "Grant them safe passage," he said. "But make sure they see what they're leaving behind. Let them tell their leaders what happened here." He opened a channel to broadcast to the entire galaxy. His message was simple and clear. "To all species who participated in the attack on Earth, you came to our home, you killed our people, you thought we would break, you were wrong. Earth is not conquered, Earth is not destroyed, and Earth will not forget what you tried to do. Consider this your only warning. The next time you come for us, we will not wait for you to reach our world. We will come to you." The message spread across the galaxy at light speed. And everywhere it was received, species that had considered themselves the masters of space felt something new. They felt fear. 3 months after the failed invasion of Earth, the Galactic Council expected humanity to celebrate their survival and perhaps negotiate for peace. Instead, they received something entirely different, a declaration of war. Fleet Admiral Taeyang stood before the United Earth Assembly in Geneva. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from every nation and every colony. Behind him, holographic displays showed the faces of the 30,000 humans who died defending Earth. "They came to our home," Taeyang said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "They killed our children. They destroyed our cities. And they expected us to accept this, to bow down and beg for mercy. He paused, looking at each face in the audience. That is not who we are. That has never been who we are. President Sunmi stood beside him. The council thinks this is over. They think we will lick our wounds and stay quiet. They are wrong. Today, we launch Operation Retribution. We will show the galaxy what happens when you attack humanity. The vote was unanimous. Within weeks, Earth's industrial capacity shifted entirely to war production. Every shipyard worked around the clock. Every factory that could build weapons did so. Humanity had always been good at one thing above all others: organizing for war. General Nari commanded the newly formed Marine Expeditionary Force. She was a veteran of the Mars Colony Rebellion 20 years earlier, a conflict most people had forgotten. But she remembered. She remembered what it took to win against superior numbers. We're not fighting a conventional war, she told her officers. The aliens have more ships than us, more resources, more territory, but they've never fought humans before. They don't understand what we're capable of. Her force consisted of 500,000 Marines. Each one was trained, not just in combat, but in survival, in adapting, in never giving up, no matter how bad things got. These were not soldiers who would surrender when things looked hopeless. They were humans. The first target was the Vacross Forge Moon, a massive industrial facility that produced most of the Vacross Empire's weapons. It orbited their primary manufacturing world and was considered impossible to attack. Heavy shields protected it. Thousands of defense platforms surrounded it. A garrison of 50,000 Vacross warriors defended it. Captain Minji led the assault. Her ship, the New Busan, was one of Earth's new heavy cruisers. She had transferred from the colony defense forces specifically for this mission. All ships, begin the approach, she ordered. Remember the plan. We don't need to destroy the moon. We just need to make them think we're going to. 20 human ships approached the Forge Moon in a direct attack formation. The Vacross defenders launched their fighters and activated their weapons platforms. It looked like a standard military assault. Then the human ships scattered. Half of them were actually empty vessels controlled by AI. The real attack came from the opposite direction, where stealth ships had been waiting in the shadow of the planet. Sergeant Minho was in the first assault pod. He and his squad launched from the stealth ships, heading directly for the moon's surface. The pods were designed to look like debris, disguised to avoid detection. They hit the surface hard, and the Marines burst out immediately. The Vacross defenders were expecting an attack from space, not from soldiers on the ground. Minho's squad moved through the industrial complex like shadows. They had studied Vacross psychology and knew the reptilian warriors valued honor and direct combat. So, the humans did the opposite. They used every dirty trick they had learned in thousands of years of warfare. Traps, ambushes, psychological warfare. They made sounds in the darkness that terrified the Vacross. They struck and disappeared before the enemy could react. Minho found himself in a narrow corridor with 50 Vacross warriors charging toward his position. His squad had already moved on, planting demolition charges. He was supposed to retreat, but the charges needed 17 more minutes to arm. He decided to hold the corridor alone. Using every piece of cover, every advantage of terrain, Minho fought. When his rifle ran out of ammunition, he switched to his sidearm. When that was empty, he used grenades. When those were gone, he picked up a Vacross weapon from a fallen enemy. When that failed, he fought with his knife. The Vacross warriors had never seen anything like it. This small human, wounded and bleeding, simply would not stop. He didn't retreat. He didn't surrender. He just kept fighting. When Minho's squad returned, they found him unconscious but alive, surrounded by Vacross bodies. The charges had armed successfully. The Forge Moon's main reactor exploded, and with it, the Vakros Empire's primary weapons production facility, the Hive Collective watched humanity's assault with growing alarm. Their unified consciousness tried to understand the pattern of human attacks, but there was no pattern. Humans were chaos, unpredictable chaos that somehow worked together. The Hive decided to use their greatest advantage, their ability to coordinate perfectly. They gathered a massive fleet to crush the human forces in one overwhelming strike. Science Officer Bora had other plans. She was part of a specialized unit that studied alien technology. Her team had captured a Hive control node during the Earth battle and had spent 3 months studying it. The Hive operates on a networked consciousness, she explained to Admiral Taeyong. Every drone is connected. Every ship shares information instantly. It makes them incredibly coordinated. And incredibly vulnerable, Taeyong finished. If we can corrupt the network, Bora smiled. Exactly. Her team infiltrated the Hive network using captured technology. They didn't try to shut it down. Instead, they introduced a virus that made the Hive drones see their own ships as enemies. The result was catastrophic for the Hive. Their own drones turned on each other. Hive queens experienced something they had never known. Betrayal from within their own consciousness. The unified mind fragmented. Chaos spread through their fleets. Within days, 3 Hive queens sued for peace. They offered complete surrender, something the Hive had never done in their 1,000-year history. Ambassador Kyung, who had been appointed Earth's primary diplomat, received the surrender offers. He was a calm man in his 60s, someone who had spent his career trying to prevent war. Now he had to manage Earth's victory. We accept your surrender, he told the Hive queens. But understand this. You attacked us. You killed our people. You will pay reparations. You will share your technology. And you will never threaten humanity again. The Hive queens agreed to everything. They had no choice. Across the galaxy, other species watched in shock. The Vakros Empire, which had dominated their sector for 2,000 years, was losing. The Hive Collective, which had absorbed hundreds of species, had surrendered. The Luminar Ascendancy was hiding. The Shardborn had switched sides entirely, offering humanity access to their information networks in exchange for protection. Neutral species began to panic. If humanity could do this to the Council's forces, what would stop them from conquering everyone? The answer came from Earth itself. President Sunmi gave a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. We did not want this war. We did not seek to conquer. All we ever wanted was to live in peace and explore the stars. You came to us with threats and violence. You forced us to show you what we are capable of. She paused, and her next words echoed through 1,000 star systems. But we are not conquerors. We are protectors. Any species that wishes to live in peace will have Earth as a friend. Any species that threatens others will have Earth as an enemy. Choose wisely. On the human colony world of New Sol, Captain Minji stood on the observation deck and looked out at the stars. The war was not over yet, but victory was certain. The question now was what came next. Her communications officer approached. Captain, we're receiving requests from 17 different species. They want to join our alliance. They're asking for protection against the Council. Minji smiled. Then we protect them. That's what humans do. Far away on the Vakros homeworld, Commander Kaval sat in his chambers and reviewed the battle reports. His empire had lost hundreds of ships, thousands of warriors, multiple industrial worlds, all because he had underestimated a species he considered primitive. He pulled up the video of a human marine named Minho holding a corridor alone against 50 Vakros warriors. He watched it again and again, trying to understand what made humans fight like this. What made them so dangerous? The answer, he finally realized, was simple. Humans fought not just for themselves, but for each other, for their families, for their homes, for an idea of what they could become. The Vakros fought for honor. The Hive fought because the Queen commanded. The Luminar fought based on logical calculations. The Shardborn fought for profit. But humans fought for love. And that made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Luminar Ascendancy had always considered themselves superior to matter-based life forms. They were pure energy, evolved beyond the need for physical bodies. They could pass through solid objects. They did not age or die in the traditional sense. They had observed the galaxy for 10,000 years, believing themselves to be the pinnacle of evolution. Now they were desperate. Their attack on Earth had failed because humans had found a way to hurt them. Nuclear pulse weapons that caused them pain. Real, genuine pain that their species had not experienced in millennia. The Luminar Council of Light met in the space between dimensions and debated their options. "We cannot defeat the humans through conventional warfare," one entity said, its form flickering between blue and green. "But we do not need to. We are energy. We can infiltrate their systems. We can shut down their entire civilization from within." The plan was approved. Thousands of Luminar entities phased into Earth's network infrastructure. They moved through communication satellites, through internet cables, through the quantum computers that ran Earth's defense systems. They planned to shut everything down simultaneously. Without their technology, humans would be helpless. Cybersecurity Chief Jamin had been waiting for this. He was a quiet man who spent most of his time in underground bunkers, staring at screens that showed the flow of information across Earth's networks. Most people found his job boring. Jamin found it beautiful. He had suspected the Luminar would try something like this. So he had prepared a trap. "They're inside our systems," his assistant reported, watching data streams flow across multiple displays. "Thousands of them. They're trying to access our defense protocols." "Let them," Jamin said calmly. "Let them think they're succeeding." The Luminar entities spread through Earth's networks like light through glass. They accessed military databases. They found the codes for weapon systems. They prepared to shut everything down at once. Victory was within reach. Then Jamin activated his trap. The systems the Luminar had infiltrated were not real. They were elaborate fakes, honeypots designed to attract energy-based intruders. And now that the Luminar were inside, Jamin released his virus. It was a program specifically designed to corrupt energy matrices. It spread through the Luminar entities like a disease, fragmenting their consciousness and disrupting their coherence. The beings of pure energy suddenly found themselves trapped, contained in systems they could not escape from. For the first time in their existence, the Luminar experienced something worse than pain. They experienced fear. The fear of ceasing to exist. One Luminar entity, desperate to survive, reached out to Jamin directly. It appeared on his screen as a pattern of shifting light. "Please, stop this. We surrender." Jamin studied the entity for a moment. "Why did you attack us?" The Luminar entity flickered with what might have been shame. "Because we were afraid. Your species expands so quickly. You innovate so fast. You refuse to accept things as they are. You keep changing, keep growing. In another 1,000 years, you would surpass even us. We tried to stop you before you became unstoppable. You attacked us because you were afraid we would become better than you?" "Yes." Jamin leaned back in his chair. "You could have asked us to be friends instead." The Luminar entity had no response to that. Jamin released most of the trapped entities but kept a few as prisoners of war. The Luminar Ascendancy withdrew from the conflict entirely. Their pride shattered along with their sense of superiority. The Shardborn, meanwhile, had come to an entirely different conclusion. As beings of living crystal who could calculate probabilities with perfect accuracy, they ran the numbers and saw only one logical outcome. If they continued fighting humanity, their civilization would collapse within 5 years. If they negotiated peace but remained separate, they would become subordinate to human interests within 20 years. The only option that offered long-term survival was to join humanity as full partners. The Shardborn delegation arrived at Earth's United Nations building in New York. They were beautiful creatures, their crystalline bodies refracting light into rainbows. Their leader, a being named Thresh, spoke in a voice like wind chimes. "We offer you everything," Thresh said. "Access to our information networks, our financial systems, our knowledge accumulated over 15,000 years. In exchange, we ask only one thing. Protect us. Let us be part of whatever you are building." Ambassador Kyung, who now spent most of his time negotiating with former enemies, was surprised by the offer. "You want to join us? After everything that happened? We want to survive," Thresh replied simply. "And our calculations show that survival lies with humanity, not against it." The offer was accepted. The Shardborn became the first non-human species to join what would become the Galactic Union. But on Earth itself, a debate was raging. President Sun Mi called together Earth's leadership for a crucial meeting. Admiral Taeyang was there, along with Ambassador Kyung, General Nari, and representatives from every major nation and colony. "We're winning," Sun Mi said. "The Vakros are retreating. The Hive has surrendered. The Luminar are hiding. The Shardborn have joined us. We could push forward, conquer them all. Make sure Earth is never threatened again." Taeyang nodded. "We have the momentum. We could establish human dominance over this entire sector of space. It would take perhaps 5 more years of war, but we could do it." "And what would we become?" asked Dr. Hanel, a civilian philosopher who had been invited to provide perspective. She was an elderly woman who had spent her life studying human history. "We would become conquerors, oppressors, the very thing we fought against." General Nari spoke up. "With respect, Doctor, we need to ensure Earth's security. If we show weakness now, others will attack us in the future." "Mercy is not weakness," Hanul replied. "We showed them we can fight. We terrified them with our rage. Now we can terrify them with something even more powerful: our mercy." The debate continued for hours. Some argued for total military domination. Others argued for immediate peace. Still others proposed various compromises. Finally, Ambassador Kyung spoke. "I've been talking to the other species, the neutral ones who haven't picked a side. You know what they're all asking me? They're asking if humans are going to be the new oppressors, if we're going to replace the council with human tyranny." He looked around the room. "How we answer that question will determine what humanity becomes." President Sun Mi made the decision. "We offer peace, but peace with conditions. Strong conditions that protect us and anyone who joins us." The terms were broadcast to the entire galaxy. Earth demanded immediate cessation of all hostilities, recognition of human sovereignty over all human-settled worlds, reparations paid through technology sharing rather than resources, because humanity did not want to drain their former enemies. The establishment of a new galactic council with equal representation for all species, not just the powerful ones, and war crimes tribunals for the leaders who had ordered attacks on civilian targets. The galaxy expected harsh terms of conquest. Instead, humanity offered partnership. But the offer came with a clear warning from Taeyang himself. "We are giving you this chance once," he said in his broadcast. "Take it. Build something better with us. But understand this. If anyone attacks us again, if anyone threatens our friends or our allies, we will not defend. We will not contain. We will eradicate. Completely and totally. We fought defensively this time because we had to. Next time, we will fight offensively because you forced us to." The Vakros Empire was the last to accept the terms. Commander Cavil himself came to Earth to sign the peace treaty. He landed in Geneva and walked through streets filled with humans who watched him with cold eyes. These were people whose families had died in the Vakros attack. Cavil expected to be killed. He would have killed a defeated enemy leader in his position. But instead, The humans simply watched him, silent, judging, making him feel his defeat in every step. When he met Admiral Taeyang to sign the treaty, Kaval could not help but ask a question. Why? Why show mercy? We tried to destroy you. We killed your people. You could crush us now. Why not finish what we started? Taeyang looked at the Vakros commander for a long moment. Because we're not like you. We don't fight because we enjoy it. We fight because we have to. And when the fighting is done, we prefer to build rather than destroy. We've spent too much of our history destroying each other. We learned from that. Maybe you can too. Cavell signed the treaty. As he left Earth, he looked back at the planet and felt something he had never experienced before. Shame and grudging respect. The war was over. Humanity had won. But more importantly, humanity had chosen what kind of victors they would be. 5 years had passed since the war ended. The galaxy looked completely different now. Admiral Taeyang, now retired, walked through the corridors of the new military academy on Mars. Young humans and aliens studied together in the classrooms. He passed a training room, where Vakros warriors were teaching human cadets their meditation techniques for managing combat stress. In another room, human instructors taught Vakros students about asymmetric warfare and adaptive tactics. One young Vakros cadet stopped him in the hall. Admiral Taeyang, may I ask you a question? Of course, Taeyang replied. Why do you teach us your tactics? Are you not afraid we will use them against you someday? Taeyang smiled. If we're afraid to share knowledge, then we learned nothing from the war. Besides, you're not our enemies anymore. You're our students. Maybe one day you'll teach us something we don't know. The cadet bowed respectfully and continued to class. Taeyang watched him go and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Captain Minji now commanded the first integrated fleet in galactic history. Her flagship, the Unity, carried a crew from 17 different species. Humans worked alongside former Hive drones. Vakros warriors shared quarters with Luminar entities. Shardborn navigators plotted courses with human pilots. Captain, we're approaching the disputed border zone, her first officer reported. He was a Shardborn named Crystal, who had chosen that name specifically because humans found it easy to pronounce. Any signs of the pirates? Minji asked. 3 ships detected. They're attacking a civilian transport. The pirates had become a problem in the new galaxy. With the old empires weakened and the new galactic union still forming, some groups had turned to raiding. They targeted weaker species, thinking the union wouldn't protect everyone. They were wrong. All ships, attack formation, Minji ordered. But remember, we capture them, if possible. The Union doesn't execute prisoners. Her fleet moved in with precision. Human ships provided speed and firepower. Vakros vessels offered heavy armor and shields. Hive drones swarmed the pirate ships, not to destroy but to disable. Within minutes, the pirates surrendered. The civilian transport's captain, a member of a small species called the Talarians, broadcast his thanks. The Unity saved us. We thought no one would come. The Union protects everyone, Minji replied. That's what we're here for. Back on Earth, in the city of Seoul, preparations were underway for the annual memorial service. 5 years ago, 30,000 humans had died, defending their planet. Now, people from across the galaxy came to honor those who fell. Ambassador Kyung, now Secretary General of the Galactic Union, stood before the memorial wall. Every name of every person who died was carved into black stone, human names, but also the names of aliens who had fought beside humanity in later battles. The wall represented something important, that the cost of freedom was paid by many species, not just one. A young Vakros female approached him. Her name was Kaya, and she had been born after the war. Secretary General? I wanted to thank you. For what? Kyung asked. For not killing us all when you had the chance. My parents told me about the war, about what we did. They said humans could have destroyed the Vacross Empire completely. But you chose mercy instead. Because of that choice, I exist. Kyung looked at the young alien and saw the future. Your parents were soldiers? My father was. He fought at the Forge Moon battle. He said a human named Minho held off 50 warriors alone. My father was one of those warriors. He said he learned more about courage in that fight than in his entire previous life. Across the galaxy, humanity's culture had spread like wildfire. Not through conquest, but through choice. Other species saw how humans lived and wanted the same things: individual rights, democratic governance, the freedom to choose your own path. But humans also learned. Professor Bora, who now taught at the Galactic University on New Earth, published a comprehensive text called Hybrid Civilization Theory. In it, she argued that humanity's true strength wasn't in being better than other species. It was in the ability to learn from everyone. We take Vacross meditation and combine it with human psychology to create better mental health treatments, she wrote. We use hive efficiency models to improve our logistics while maintaining individual creativity. We adapt luminar energy manipulation for new power sources. We employ shardborn long-term planning while keeping human adaptability. The future isn't human. It's not alien. It's hybrid. It's better than any single species could achieve alone. Her book became required reading across the Union. On the colony world of New Busan, young Yura played with her friends. She was 5 years old and didn't remember the war. Her friends included 2 human children, a young Vacross, and a small hive drone that had chosen to live independently from the collective. They played a game they called Defenders of Earth, where they pretended to fight off imaginary invaders. But in their game, the defenders weren't just humans. They were everyone working together. Yura's grandmother was Captain Minji. She visited when her ship was on leave and watched the children play. Her own granddaughter growing up in a galaxy where humans and aliens were friends, not enemies. This was what they had fought for. But peace, as always, was fragile. The sensor stations at the edge of the galaxy detected something. A fleet. Massive. Moving toward Union space, with clear, hostile intent. The Voidborn had arrived. Fleet Admiral Junho, who had taken command after Taeyang retired, studied the reports with growing concern. The Voidborn were legendary, an ancient species that appeared every 50,000 years to destroy young civilizations before they could challenge the old order of the galaxy. How many ships? He asked. Our sensors can't get an exact count. At least 50,000. Maybe more. They're using technology we've never seen before. Junho called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Union Council. Representatives from 100 species gathered in the Grand Chamber that had once been the Galactic Council of the Four Empires. Now, it represented everyone. The Voidborn are coming, Junho announced. According to historical records, they've destroyed thousands of civilizations. They wipe out any species that shows too much promise. That threatens the old balance of power. A small, timid species called the Oreni spoke up. What can we do? The Voidborn have destroyed empires that lasted millions of years. We've only been united for 5 years. Ambassador Kyung stood. He was older now, his hair completely white, but his voice was strong. 50 years ago, 4 empires attacked Earth because they feared what we might become. They had more ships, more resources, more experience. But Earth survived. Not because we were stronger, because we refused to give up. And we didn't face them alone. He gestured to the assembled species. The Voidborn are coming to destroy us because we dare to be different. Because we refuse to accept that things must stay the same forever. Because we believe in change, in growth, in becoming better. He paused, looking at each representative. They think they bring fear. But we've faced fear before. We've faced it together. And we've won." End quote. The vote was unanimous. The Galactic Union would fight. Junho began preparations. Every species contributed what they could. Humans provided military strategy and weapons. The Vakros offered their warrior traditions and heavy ships. The Hive contributed their perfect coordination and rapid manufacturing. The Luminar provided energy weapons and intelligence gathering. The Shardborn calculated the best deployment strategies. 100 other species, some small and weak, offered what little they had. Together, they assembled a defense force that no single species could have created alone. 3 weeks later, the Voidborn fleet arrived at the edge of Union space. They broadcast a message in a language so old that only the Shardborn's ancient records could translate it. Primitive species. You have risen too far too fast. You threaten the natural order. You will be corrected. Surrender now, and some of you may be preserved as specimens. Resist, and you will be eradicated completely. Junho's response was broadcast to both the Voidborn and to every planet in the Union. To the Voidborn. You come to destroy us because we dare to grow. You come to punish us because we refuse to stagnate. You come to teach us fear. He paused, and when he continued, his voice was hard as steel. But you made a mistake. You gave us time to prepare, time to unite, time to become what we always were meant to be. We are not just humans anymore. We are Vakros warriors who learned honor from defeat. We are Hive drones who chose to think as individuals. We are Luminar entities who discovered empathy. We are Shardborn who value loyalty over profit. We are 100 species who learned that being different makes us stronger, not weaker. You think you bring fear? We evolved on a death world. We split atoms and touched stars. We turned an enemy's attack into a galaxy's alliance. We are the Galactic Union, and we do not fear the dark. We bring the light. Come and learn why the galaxy doesn't fear the Voidborn anymore. They fear us. The Battle of the Outer Rim began. It would last 3 months. It would test every species to their limits. Ships would be lost. Heroes would die. But humanity and their allies fought with a desperation the Voidborn had never encountered before. Because they weren't fighting for empires or resources or old grudges. They were fighting for something the Voidborn could never understand. They were fighting for the right to choose their own future. And in the end, after all the fires burned out and the debris settled, the Voidborn retreated. For the first time in their million-year existence, they ran from prey that refused to die. On Earth, in the rebuilt city of Sol, a monument was erected. It showed a human hand and an alien hand clasped together, reaching toward the stars. The inscription was simple. They came to conquer Earth. They united the galaxy instead. Remember, not our rage, but our resolve. Remember not our weapons, but our will. Remember that humanity's greatest strength is not in how we fight, but in who we fight for. Young Yura attended the dedication ceremony with her grandmother. She looked up at the monument and asked. Captain Minji knelt down beside her granddaughter. She looked at the memorial, at the mixed crowds of humans and aliens standing together. She looked up at the sky where patrol ships from a dozen species protected them all. Probably, she said honestly. But when they come, they won't face Earth alone. They'll face everyone Earth stood up for. Everyone Earth protected. Everyone who learned that being different isn't weakness, it's strength. Yura smiled. Then we'll be ready. Yes. Minji agreed, standing and taking her granddaughter's hand. We'll always be ready. Above them, in the orbital stations and the ships that guarded Earth, human and alien crews worked side by side. They came from different worlds, different biologies, different histories, but they shared one thing. They were the Galactic Union. They were different. They were strong. The galaxy had learned its lesson. When you attack humanity, you don't just fight one species. You fight everyone humanity inspired, everyone humanity protected, everyone who believed in something better, and that was a fight no one could win.